The Chitrik Academy is dedicated in loving memory of Rabbi Tzvi Hirsh Chitrik.
Welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to continue in the Gemara, and we are discussing whether the halacha is like Abaya or Rava, whether Yish Lemadas is considered Yish or not. We're going to learn from Tashma, which is the first two words, Rosh Tevis on the line, until the Tashma over here, which the line starts Eyushe. Tashma, this is a brisa we're going to learn from today. Tashma, come and learn. It says in a brisa, Shotaf Nahar. If a river overflowed and washed away a person's kairav, his beams, eitzav, his wood, vavanav, or his stones, v'nasnu b'seich stechaverei, and it placed it inside of the field of his friend, harei elu shalai, the person whose field it washed up into, whoever finds it, gets to keep it. And the Brisa says the reason for this is mipnei shenisyashu habailim, because the bailim, the owners, have given up. As soon as they saw the water overflowing and washing away the items, they gave up of ever finding it, and therefore the person who finds it may keep it. So the Gemara is going to try to bring a proof that seemingly this is a raya, this is a proof to the opinion of Abaya. Let's make a P over here for a proof. The Gemara says this is the end of the beginning of the Brisa. Now the Gemara continues, Taima, why does the person who finds it, why do we allow him to keep it? So Brisa says, Dinis Yashu Abailim, because we know that the owners gave up on finding it. Ha stama. However, if we don't know if the owners gave up on finding it, lai, then we would say that the finder may not keep the item that washed up into his field. So seemingly this looks like a proof. This seems like a proof to Abayi's opinion that only if we know that the owner gave up on finding it, may the finder keep it. However, if the owner has not given up on finding his item, then the finder may not keep it. So this is a proof to Abaya. Now the Gemara is going to try to reject this proof. Let's make a R. It says, the Gemara continues, Hacha b'maya skinan, in what cases the Brisa speaking about kishayachol lahatzil. In a case where the owner can later on find his item, then we assume that he does not give it up unless we hear that he says, I'm going to give up, I'm going to be misyayish on my item. However, if he doesn't say that, then we assume that he will go to search for his item, and therefore a person does not get, the finder will not be able to keep it. And therefore it's not a raya according to Abaya. Because even according to Rava, who says Yishlam das Havi Yush, in this case, because the person may save it, he may find his item later on. For example, he may have a siman on the item. Therefore, we will say in this case that the owner does not give up on finding it unless we hear him verbally saying it. So it's not a raya according to Abaya. Now the Gemara is going to ask the question. Let's put a question mark over here. The question is like this. Ihachi, if so, ema seifa. Let's read the second part of the brisa that we mentioned. The brisa continues and says, Im hayu habailim miradfin achreihem. If we see the owners of the items that were being washed away was running after them, chayiv lahachzir, then the person who finds it must return it. Because we see that the owner wants it and has not given up on finding it. This is the end of the seifa of the brisa. So Gemara says, if we're referring to a case that the owner will can find it later on, why do we need to say that if the owner is running after it, then the finder must return it? Really, afilu emeradfin nami. Even if the owner is not running after it, because we know that he can find it, we should make the finder return it. So this is the Gemara's question. Let's go to our board for a moment. The brisa that we learned today has two parts to it. First, it says that if things get washed away, Perek Eilu Metzios, the finder may keep it, and it continues because the owner gives up on finding it. And we had asked, this seems like a raya according to Abaya. So Gemara answered that no, this is referring to a case where Yecholin lahatzil, that the owner is able to identify it and save it later on. So let's write that into our chart. Yecholin lahatzil. What is the Gemara saying? That only in a case where the owner has a siman on his items, and he can come to find it and will claim it the next day, then we say that it only belongs to the finder if we hear the verbally that the owner said, I give up on it. However, in the end of the brisa, the seifa, it says that only when does the finder need to return it? Only imahayu habaylim, if the owners miradfin acharehem, we're running after the items as they're being washed away. So the Gemara's question is, why do the owners need to run after the items in order for the finder to need to return it? Seemingly, as long as the Yecholin lahatzil, that the owner has a siman, and he can claim it and realize that he can find it the next day, even if he's not running after it, we said in the Reisha that the person who finds it must give it back. So why does the Seifa say, let's switch colors, why does the Seifa say that only mira'atum achareyem, if the owner is running after it, then chayav lahachzer? Even if he's not running after it, but the fact that the owner may come the next day and may come to claim it, that is good enough reason for the finder to need to return it. So this is the question that the Gemara is asking on the brisa, from the brisa. Does the owner need to be running after it in order for the finder to return it? Or as long as the owner may come to claim it the next day, then the finder must return it? This is the Gemara's question. Let's return to the Gemara to see the answer. So now we're going to make an A on the side, and now Gemara is going to answer this question. The Gemara is answering that the Seifa of the Brisa is a unique case. The Reisha, we mentioned, as long as the owner can claim it the next day, then the finder must return it. However, the Seifa is in a case where it's not so simple for him to identify it. And he knows that he'll have a hard time claiming it the next day. It wasn't a very good siman. He's not sure if he'll be able to find it. Then he needs to be running after it in order for the finder to find it. However, otherwise, the finder may keep it. Let's see this in the Gemara. The Gemara answers, Hacha b'mayaskinan. Over here, what are we dealing with? What are we doing within the Seifa? What case? B'yecholin lahatzil ayidei hadchak. He can find it the next day. He will look for it the next day. However, ayidei hadchak, it will be very difficult for him to claim his item. It could be because the siman is not very good, or other reasons. So in such a case, the Brisa tells us, miradfin, if the owner is running after the item to claim it, lo yayush, we see he is very determined to claim his item, and therefore the finder may not receive it because the owner is looking for it and has not given up on it. Ein miradfin, let's make a comma over here. Ein miradfin, however, if the owner is not running after his items, then because it will be difficult for him to claim it later on, iyushe miyayish, he has given up on it right away, and therefore the finder may keep it. So to answer the question, the Reisha is referring to a case where the owner has an easy time finding it, and the Seifa is referring to a case where the owner will have more difficult finding it. So in conclusion, this Brisa is not a raya according to Abaya or according to Rava. And this is the end of this lesson.